All right. We're going to go over version 22.11 new features this morning. I think I only need maybe a half hour approximately. I'm going to probably jump back and forth between my document as usual to refresh my memory. But a few things are on the client master. I want to start there. And some of these things we may have talked about when we were talking about 2212 last week. But in 2211, the tax ID field was implemented. Federal tax ID for the client was needed. And then let's see, screen 2. Okay, so on screen 2, the remit method is showing down here on the screen, but that's not really effective until version 2212. So I'm not sure. I guess we had that on the panel in 2211. But what is new as of 2211 on screen 2 of the client master is a second cycle option. I'm over here, my cursor, I'm in the system report options section in the lower right corner of the screen. And here we list a handful of reports that users may run on a regular basis, most of which pertain to clients, or all of which, and except maybe the income analysis. And then it's an option when I'm running those reports, do I want to include this client? Well, for the cycle, it's just a user definable cycle. There's no table for this cycle. I could just put in cycle 1, or I think it letters, cycle A. And then when I go to run the activity report, for example, month end account reports, the account activity, here in the second field, which cycle? And if I do an F8 there's no help for that because, like I said, no table. So the users that run this, they have to just be familiar with whatever cycles they may have had set up. That was something that Greg asked for.
Hello.
Yes, hi. We just got started.
Okay.
I just talked about there's a federal tax ID field on the client master screen 1, and then on screen 2, we have an additional cycle field for the reports where there is a cycle option, so that users could run it on 2 different cycles. So, and then
wait. What is that field? It looks like it's like in between the cycle field.
Because there are 2 cycle fields.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it now. Yeah.
One column heading, but 2 fields.
Okay.
Although it's only on the account activity, I'm not too sure why it's not on status report, but in any case, for Greg's purposes, he wanted it on account activity. And then in addition, in 2211 is when these additional client address email options were added. So now I can send a account activity report. Not only you see, it used to be under this field that's labeled. If I go to the help on that, the options were the client. This is the main client master email 1, 2, and 3. That was those were previously the only client email options, but now you can use any of the client address records. And I'm referring to back on when you come here, or screen 1 addresses, the middle section of the screen 1 where I have C1 is my client contact 1, client contact 6, my plaintiff, and my statements, client statements.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have a CH one on this particular database. So here,
What tables could I find these emails at?
I believe they're all on the client table, CLT table.
Okay.
Oh, the client addresses has its own table, the CLA. But these fields where I'm setting this up, I believe is the CLT. So I can put in, for example, here, C1, client contact 1, and a 1 means the email address 1. Of the 3 that are on client contact 1, I want it to go to email 1. And you have up to 3 fields, 3 different people to email to, in addition to the standard one that was already there.
Mm-hmm. So can you, those don't reference the web portal though, right?
The first one does, the
Right.
one that, yeah, only the first one. So you're going to use that field for web portal and client, main client email if you want to.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and then these are just additional emails.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And then one other enhancement to Client Master in 2211 is the new business posting duplicate field, where Doe implemented the ability to control whether or not to check for duplicates when you're posting new business at the client level. And I'm going to show that example real quick here since I have a little time today. For example, right now for my KCM 100, I have it set to no. I don't want to check. But I think I set my next client to check. I did, but let's go ahead and do it. So here's the help for that. Here are the options. I'm going to go to the new business posting screen, but these are the same options that are on the post new business batches screen. So I'm going to say no for this client. I do want to check for duplicates based on client ID and reference number.
Okay. So this will override the poster then, right?
The posting program. Yeah, it takes,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Which is what I wanted to demonstrate here. I don't know if I really need to, or if I should take the time to do it. I guess I won't. But what happens is if I was to add to my batch here, well, here's an example I did from yesterday, testing it, where I ran it, I posted duplicate for both clients, but for this one right here, it left it in a batch as an exception. Because it was my, yeah.
So if you don't have the client master marked, you still have to mark it for during the posting process in case you don't have the client master marked, right?
Right. If you don't have any clients set up, you still have to use the old options. So these options here on the post, previously they applied to all your clients, all the accounts you're posting. But now, yeah.
Excuse me, Casey. For the people that may not know, when you load new accounts into the system, there's sometimes clients will send you accounts that they've already sent.
Right.
And so we're trying to find those duplicate accounts and eliminate them. And so we give them the option to check for the client ID and the client reference number. If they match, then it's considered a dupe. And then there's these other options that you see on the screen to filter them out.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Casey.
Thank you for that. I meant to give that background information.
So,
planning.
Casey, when you tried this, did you test something different, like do not post entries with matching client reference and last charge date?
Yes, what I did.
Uh-huh.
What I did is I have the two clients where I had one set up to use this option, check by client ID and CliRef, and the other one has no client override. And then I found an account on each client, and I added a duplicate based on the CliRef, duplicate Cli ID and CliRef. And then when I came here to post, I used the option here, just post all, basically saying, don't worry about duplicates.
Yeah.
But it did, for that one client, it honored the setting on that client. It did look and found that it was a duplicate for that client, and it did not post it.
Cool.
So the client level is an override to this standard overall level.
Okay, so so who wanted the client override? I mean, didn't all this, just if I checked for duplicates on this screen, wouldn't this have worked for all clients, or?
If I recall, this was a Jeff Heber request in some way. I don't know if Doe implemented exactly what Jeff was asking for, but I think it met his needs and probably more. But yeah, I'm fairly certain Jeff Heber asked for this.
Colleen, well, you know that whether you do duplicates or not is more client related. Certain clients you want to do everything. Certain clients you know that they keep sending you duplicates. So it's actually a client level thing, and to be able to have to remember all that is kind of challenging. So that's why that was added, so they don't have to remember which clients they need to check for what.
Okay, that sounds good.
And maybe some clients are more likely to place those dupes, so they would want to definitely check for those. And maybe they don't want to check everybody. It does add some overhead to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, one second. I'm going to refer to my cheat sheet again right here a moment. So also in 2211, I'm going to jump around just a little bit from the document. Address key was introduced as a stored procedure. I'm not real familiar with all that too much, except that address key is used for, I believe, the account lookup by address, as well as matching and tying based on address.
Let me interject here. I think it's kind of interesting for people to know how it works. The address key is you take the address and combine it into one field as an additional field. So you say 123 Simi Way. Well, the address key starts with the name of the street, and then it takes out all the street, court, boulevard out, because those are kind of trivial. And then it keeps the number, the street number, and then at the end it attaches the zip code. So if you have two addresses with the same address key, then there's a high probability that is the same address, without dealing with all the different ways that people enter address. So we have the address key. We create a stored procedure that will convert the address into an address key, so that it's much quicker to do that. And then when in match and tie, it uses the address key to see if the addresses match.
Okay, so why, like that top one, why is that different than most of the other ones?
You mean the one I had highlighted?
Yeah,
This one is actually an example, because when Doe first introduced it and Greg tried it, he came up with an issue where he had this specific example. So that's why I repeated his specific example. Well, it wasn't this wording, but
yeah.
I don't, or maybe it was, but
some people were putting names in address 1 field,
yeah,
and causing the whole address key to mess up.
Yeah.
And so we had to make some changes to accommodate that, or try to accommodate that. We told our user, whenever possible to use address for address because it matters.
What a
Right.
concept.
Yeah,
Would you consider using a binary hash to do like validation on it instead of having a character space?
No, you don't want to do that because some people spell out the word boulevard, some people abbreviate it differently. You have different, oh, you mean convert the address key to
A
a
binary?
hash? Well,
Yeah.
then you lose something there because we also use the address key to do address searches. Like a lot of times you know the street name, but you don't know the number, house number.
Oh, okay.
So collectors like to do searches on street name.
So you're parsing the key as well as validating based off of the actual key value?
We're in match and tie, we use it to see if it's a match. And in the lookup, we use this to do searches for addresses by street name.
Mm.
Because the address usually starts with the street number. So if they're searching a street number, then we use the address field to search on. If they're searching by street name, then we use the address key to search on. So we use it for two purposes. So it makes sense to do it this way.
so what if we do have some clients that have the name in address 1, like attention so-and-so.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
Yes, it is. So you won't be matching and tying correctly.
See, on this example that you asked about, if you look over here in address 1, I just have the contact name, and then address 2, I have the address.
Right,
But if you look over here at the key, the street name is not showing at all
right.
because adder 2 is not part of the key, I guess, right?
Yeah. Adder 2 is actually part of the key only if it
Oh.
contains an apartment number or a
Apartment
PO
number.
box.
Yeah, here's apartment number, and here it shows apartment number in the key.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have any clients calling in about why this account isn't matching, it's usually probably there might be a name in there
Yeah.
in address 1. Yeah, okay.
Now, if there's a way to differentiate a name from an address, we could put that filter in and use address 2 only. But,
That isn't too prevalent though, is it? I mean, most people aren't really doing that, right, Joe?
well, the 90 some percent probably aren't, but there's that 1% that does that, or
Right.
or even if they do, they only do it on a few accounts here and there. So that's why it hasn't bubbled up as a problem because it's so infrequently used.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll put like attention so-and-so in a different address sequence, so they can pull that address sequence up in a letter. But they're not actually matching and tying on that attention address sequence, so it wouldn't be a problem.
Well, the problem is most addresses are names. Streets are named after people, so you won't be able to differentiate that way unless you compare to a different field that you already knew their name from
Right.
somewhere else, and then if it's the same, spelling, then you know it's their name, not the street. So
Right.
Well,
So
one
think
thing you
that-
could potentially do is look for any numeric value, but then an address could be all alpha. The other thing you could do is look for a keyword like attention at the beginning. But I don't know if
that's
it's
kind
worth
of
doing
rare
that.
too. So.
Yeah.
You could probably get rid of all the spaces and just create a string based off of the characters, and then hash that and have a true a true value for that address. But then you only have to deal with misspellings.
I'm not sure. You mean in the address field or in the address key field?
Address key field, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't really help us a lot in COBOL side. In the COBOL side, we actually specify so many characters for the name, so many characters for the street number. We limit that instead of just stringing it together. It's limited by the number of characters.
Okay, and one last note about the address key. I believe initially we were told to run the STAdder program. That's no longer necessary, correct? Just the scripts?
Right.
We
Yeah.
have a stored procedure to update all the address tables, so that's why.
Right. Okay, good enough. One other field on the client master I didn't overlook to mention was just a minor thing, kind of, is moving the zip code. So the zip code field was moved to work like in new business entry, where you can enter the zip code and it performs a lookup and populates city and state for you. Whereas in the past, it was not working that way. You had to manually key those in.
Right. That's good.
I'm going to go to action code setup, files, collection tables, action codes. Added for another Greg request. He wanted where is it? The number of days to delay the letter request. Oh yeah. So generate letter delay days. The reason Greg asked for this was really what he was looking for is ability to request a payment receipt when not only when the account is still active, but particularly when it goes PIF, and to delay sending that payment receipt until the payment cleared. So Doe added the field generate delay days, so where he can put, in fact, I have one set up, some kind of receipt. I think I use this one. Yeah. 10-day delay and the letter RCP. So if I do action code RCP, it requests letter RCP, but it's going to delay the date that close the day will trigger it for 10 days. It'll show up in done history, but with a date 10 days in the future. So it'll just sit in there until it matures 10 days, and then close the day will act on it. And
is there a description of that in Dunning history that says hold for 10 days or something?
Help.
So the collector knows that this letter will be generated, but it's got a hold on it. How do they know that there's a hold on the letter?
It has a future date.
Huh?
Yeah.
It has a future date.
If they went to, like I was going to show you an example, let's go to an account.
Okay.
Okay, so I put in action, if I could do the right one, RCP, F11, done history. It's dated 10/17, 10 days in the future. And sent is, not.
Yeah.
Now there is another feature Doe added for this was if the client posts an NSF reversal to the account, meaning that payment did not clear, he changes this sent flag to E for exception so that it won't be triggered.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be terrible if it went NSF and then the letter went out. Oh, thank you for your check. Oh, goodness.
There may be other applications for that, which is the reason Doe implemented it to be a little bit more broad, but for now, that was the specific intention. One other enhancement.
No, sorry for the motorcycle. So, so what does close the date look for with that letter, Doe? Does it look for an NSF payment or?
No, it's looking for the date and the sent flag. So if the date says 10/7 and you're running it today and the sent flag is blank, it's going to trigger it. But if it sees the sent flag E, then it won't trigger it.
No, I know, but I mean, in the program, what does it look for as far as an NSF check? Does it look at the financial history to put that exception on it?
The posting program does that. So when you post new business batches, that's the program that's going to change this flag.
New business posting?
Transaction, sorry.
Oh, transaction. Oh, yeah.
Transaction.
Okay.
When you post that, I meant when you post that NSF reversal using post-transaction batches.
Okay. Okay.
All right. One other enhancement to Action Code was the ability to set up an action. This is a Jeff Heber request to go to a specific field on a user-defined window. So I have an Action Code UW2 in the launch WC program F9 field. I have UW to open up my F9 UW screen. Open UDW2. I want to open up that UDW ID 02. And then 11, I forget, maybe Doe remembers, I forgot what the I is that, but the 11 is the field 11.
Oh, it takes you to the 11th field, the cursor.
Yeah, but did this I have a meaning? I forgot why I had this set up I dash. I'm not sure about that.
I think it did, but I
I'll
don't
have to
know.
revisit that part of it. I can, I want to take the time, if we have time at the end here. So I'm going to do UW2. Pops me right up to my user-defined window 2, and the cursor is in the 11th field.
Oh, I think it blocks out all the other fields, so you can't change them.
Oh,
It only opens that one field up. So sometimes
correct.
you're doing an action, you're working an account, and there's only one field in the user-defined window you're supposed to change. And so it takes you directly to that field. They can enter that information and move on rather than, searching for it and potentially affect the wrong field.
Oh, cool.
Okay, now to letter series rules. Another enhancement related to that payment receipt on the new business letter series rule is the last field at the bottom, allow regardless of status class, because Collect One was always designed that it would never allow a letter series rule to be added to an account that was PIF or canceled, I believe. So this is an override for that general concept, so that if my account is PIF, but I want to do a letter series or whatever cancel, I forget I think it was the same thing about the payment receipt, but I'm not sure why he wanted to do it with a letter series. But in any case, it was all related to that. The ability to put a letter series on it regardless of what class is on the account. Let's go to purge, because this is a pretty big enhancement, I would have thought, although Doe seemed to knock it out pretty quickly. Files, purging another miscellaneous purge account. So now it's sort of a two-step process, the purge. Instead of coming right to the selection screen where I'm selecting my accounts to purge, I come to a purge account list. And to go to the select screen, I press F2 or click select F2. So right now I have an example set up where I want to purge just the one client. I want to show you, I'm going to clear out these status classes. So I have this one set up for one client. Everything else is basically wide open. A new field on the screen is select from database. So it's kind of, am I working with the active database? Am I wanting to purge or archive from active, or or move eMedia files from active, or am I working with the archive database and either moving back to active or maybe purging from archive? And so the options here are a little different. There's fewer options because of this drop down.
Okay.
So I chose from active, I'm going to archive and F11. And now you see I have 17 accounts selected. It tells me at the bottom total 17, of which 15 are active. And maybe that was a mistake, and I don't want to really purge my active accounts. So I'm going to go back and select, and now I am going to re-put in exclude, or include rather, canceled by agency, PIF, oops, canceled by client. And now I just get the two canceled by client ones. And so with this selected, now we no longer have a print. And this is sort of substituting for the print only, that is, like a preview.
Right.
I guess, though, I never really questioned it. I guess what is the point of printing it out when you have this list right here to review your account selected?
Well, I believe when you run it, it still prints the list.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. So that print is now, you don't need another step to print it.
Okay, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So just by default, running the select is producing the report.
Right.
Yeah, but what if you have thousands of accounts you want to delete?
What about it?
What about it?
Well, that online screen would, if you want to review them, would be kind of cumbersome, wouldn't it?
Well, what else do you suggest? I don't know.
I think if you have thousands, you're probably not going to review them all. Maybe you'll do some spot checking to make sure you didn't do an obvious mistake. And
Yeah,
that's
but even spot checking, you're going next.
And so what I don't know what you're suggesting.
I think the online would be difficult if you really want to review the accounts, because normally they're not just going to be purging 2 accounts. They're going to be purging 1,000 accounts or more than that. So an online version, I mean, it's nice if you're only purging a few, but if you're purging, many accounts, it would be hard to review. I mean, that's my opinion.
Well, it's no worse than what we had before. I don't understand.
They can still review the report if they prefer the old method.
I thought you just said a report to.
That's what I thought, but as we just mentioned, as soon as I ran the F11 and selected the accounts, a report does get generated by default.
Oh,
Yeah.
I missed that then.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry. I went over to the pre-queue real quick and confirmed it was there.
Oh, yeah, I missed that totally what you said though, so sorry.
All right, so now with my selected accounts, I'm satisfied that these are the ones I want to purge. Now I'm going to go to process. And now you have another filter option. I can filter again optionally by range of account numbers. So if I knew that there was only a specific range of account numbers, I'm not actually sure what the reason for this was, but obviously there is the secondary ability to, within the set of accounts I selected, I can even narrow it down further here if needed.
Well, the idea is that sometimes they create a huge list, like 10, 20,000 records that won't run in one day, or they want to run every night, or they want to, actually you could run two different purge processes as long as account numbers don't overlap. So if you want to do, as fast as you can kind of purge, then you could have two computers running and select different data number ranges. So that's why also you have a date or a time, run until time, because maybe every night you want to run, so many accounts or up to a certain time.
Does it have to be two different computers though, or could it just be two different collect ones on the same workstation?
It could be the two different collect one. Doesn't matter, but I mean, you can do that. Now beyond two, I don't think you'll gain much performance, but I'm pretty sure with two running at the same time, you will see a notable increase in performance.
So now I went ahead and ran it, and it returns us to the purge account list with the same two accounts still showing as selected, but now not found. And then it stays like that till you select your next set of accounts.
When it says not found, it means the account's no longer there, so it's not found anymore.
At least not in the active. They should be found in archive.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, and I don't even think I put this on the document because this one kind of slipped through on a different ticket. The ability, and the only reason I'm remembering is because NCS just asked when they got 2211. It used to be on the work card on miscellaneous drop down. We had changed DBase so that I could change to the archive, or if I'm on archive, change back to active. Instead, we Doe incorporated that into the account lookup with an archive button down here in the lower right corner, F6. So you fill in the lookup, use the same fill for the active lookup, and then click F or press F6, and you're going to be looking up in your archive database.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I thought it's too confusing to be in two different databases. And so the only reason you go to the archive is to find an account.
Right.
So it makes sense to do in the lookup.
Yeah.
Down here in the lower right, you have an indication in red that you're in the archive. What it's really showing you is the lookup you performed. So I performed a lookup with account number starting at 1. I page down, I should see those couple accounts that I purged a little while ago. I forgot what those numbers were, 500 something.
So Doe, other than running two purges at the same time, did the purge process get enhanced for speed?
Yeah, we put the purge process in the stored procedures, so the process should be much quicker. Now, I won't in general, I wouldn't advertise you could run it in twice.
Okay.
Because most people don't need it, and if somebody's is desperate for purging a lot of accounts, then we would suggest it. But overall, we don't want people doing that because we don't want a potential of a problem and then have to deal with that.
By the way, on the topic of archiving, I'm not going to go into the detail now. Maybe that would be a different training session. But the eMedia, formerly ScanDocs, it's separated from the themselves. So because you have the files saved on that path, and so when you archive accounts, the program does not delete the eMedia reference on the SCD ScanDoc table. So that if you archive by mistake and you want to bring, archive by mistake and you want to bring it back to active, you won't lose the document. It'll still find the document that's attached. The archive for eMedia is to move it off of your hard drive onto another, usually external drive or something, because you just don't. And if you do archive the eMedia, then you no longer have the reference. You can't bring it back into Collect One without doing some manipulation. The records do stay on the SCD table, but a flag is set that it's been archived on that record.
Okay. Where does that path come from, Casey?
Oh, yeah, it's set up on the ScanDoc viewer config, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Files, agency table, eMedia viewer config, the archive path.
That was also displayed right where you were.
Oh, was it? Well, it was displayed.
Yeah, it was displayed, but that's where did it come from?
I don't know that you can change. Yeah, see, this is display only. All right.
So now there's a lot more validation in the archive process. If it has eMedia, then it won't archive. I mean, it will archive, but it checks a lot more things in the whole process. The problem is that when people used to reuse account numbers, then you could have an account in the archive and the active with the same data number. And that's the situation that is kind of challenging because you don't know whether the ScanDoc belongs to which. If people, and going forward, we don't use, reuse numbers, right? So then we're fine. But the old stuff people might have, they may have some challenges there. You could also run this process to find those duplicate accounts and maybe purge them from the archive database.
Yeah. Question, if you purge accounts and you make a mistake and you put them back in with DBARCH, can you put the scanned documents back in?
They are. That's what Casey just said. Because scanned docs aren't deleted when you archive. As long as there's no account with the same data number in the archive.
So when you said used to use the same number or recycle the numbers for the old accounts, how far back are we talking? Like when was the last time that would have been seen?
That was what, about 3 or 4 years ago when we changed get the data number to a stored procedure so that it doesn't duplicate. I think it's about maybe 3 to 5 years, sometime around that.
That's pretty recent. So,
yeah.
Okay, good.
And then that's why we expanded the data number from 7 digits to 10 digits because people were running out of data numbers and reusing them. So we now have no reason to reuse data numbers because we have enough with a 10-digit number.
I opened the user guide just to show that I added a little paragraph here about this particular topic. Once I learned it, I wanted to make sure I documented it so that we had it for everybody. Let's go to global edits. I'm needing more time than I thought. It always happens. Simple change, another request by Greg Platt. Because he uses global edit to request letters, send letter, and because he considers requesting a letter on a global process working an account, he asked for the field update last work to today, so that when he goes and runs his global edit to request letters, he can update the last work date to show his clients that he's busy working those accounts.
Okay.
New options on the selection screen where the account category, this is the version where account category was expanded to include the custom categories. If you leave it blank over here, it's the standard one. 1 through 4 are the custom, is the debt category.
Okay.
Oh, and added the age fields. So similar to on the campaign where we previously only had a range of dates, now all the date ranges have an option to use age range instead. Okay, minor thing to post new business batches. I don't really need to show you anything. For Greg, again, only because he happens to be in Massachusetts where there are zip codes beginning with 0 or 00. And he, like using flexible new business import, for example, maybe you inadvertently dropped your leading zeros on your zip code. So he imported a lot of zip codes with 3-digit numbers or 4-digit numbers. So for that issue, Doe implemented a feature in post new business batches where if the program finds a 3 or 4-digit zip code, and if it is the state is one of the states that has a zip code that begins with either 1 or 2 zeros, then it will append the zeros to the zip code. It does not change the city. So if they had a different city in there and on your zip code table you have a different city referenced, it does not change that. It just appends the zeros. Now, if a user was to go to the address screen and enter through the zip code field, that would then update the city because that's how that address, yeah.
Right.
Oh, and on post new business batches, I don't have to show you this one, modified the report, both the batch poster report and the batch detail reports to display the full 30-character client reference number. That was, I believe, CMRE wanted that one, but I'm sure that applies to others. I know Jeff Heber uses a full 29 or 30-character CLIREF. For email versions of client statements, modified the subject line to use the date that was used when a user ran the print statements, so it matches. Yeah, that was a Greg Platt request. Client report writer. I don't know if it's really necessary to show you. Fields added, management reports, report writer, client report writer. If you view, edit, and go to the field dictionary and click on the available fields and page down a little bit. Went right past them. I thought it was the client contact fields. Let's see. The federal tax ID and client contact fields were added. Although, why am I not seeing? Oh, there's the client ID right here. Make sure you're not seeing.
I saw user-defined windows in there too.
Was it UDW that? That's what it was. UDW. Oh, and the client contact addresses I have listed, though I'm not seeing. I don't see those though. Did you remember that? Did I say that by mistake?
Names. What is that? This is. Is that for the client report writer?
Yeah, this is the client report writer.
Okay,
So maybe,
when you go to name,
with the name and
you go to
sign.
select it.
Okay, sequence. So I could do CH?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how the client contact works.
Would you put C or C1? Does C1 work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
C2?
Yes, all of them.
That's the whole point.
I swear I saw user-defined windows in there, so
Yeah,
I think it took care of it.
User-defined windows was added as well. I guess it would be the client, any, where is it? so fast. I should just search for it, huh?
Yeah, right there. In the middle.
So which, I think it has to be a client, one attached, well, client type, I guess, maybe. I don't know if it validates.
That's the user window number and the field number. So
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't know if it validates to make sure that the UDW is a client, type T client. Okay. And in the report writer, same filters for the custom and so management reports, report writer, account report writer. View one of these templates for the account category, same thing where you have the blank or 1 through 4 or D for the filters. In-house email, the message field was expanded to 4,000 characters. From my main menu, here's in-house email. If I do create message, this message field expanded to allow up to 4,000 characters. However, if you used all uppercase, I don't think they all display. Is that right? It's kind of expecting that you're going to have a mix. Is that where I found that issue, Doe? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. I tried to use text like all uppercase, and it doesn't necessarily fit. Or maybe I'm thinking of, you know what I'm thinking of instead? It's those UDW set up for the comment fields.
Oh.
But anyway. And added to the here ability to attach a file. I get you need to put in. There's no browse for the file name. You just have to know the path name to the file that you want to attach. So if your message is so long that you can't really insert it as text, or it's just easier to attach a document, you can do that.
But it has to be in a shared drive folder.
Right. I
It's
think
not
you
gonna.
talked about in 2212
Yeah.
too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and there are some consent enhancements, but I'm going to leave that for Bridget tomorrow, where Doe kind of finalized some additional enhancements to consent to differentiate between account level or system-wide or client level consent. So that was introduced in 2211. Which is the reason why clients on 2210, I had always been saying, I was suggesting that maybe they don't want to get into consent just yet because we're still working on more enhancements to it. And I just, yeah. All right, I think we're done with one last exception, legal hearing dates. There was a bug with that where it wasn't working, and Doe decided when he found out how it works, he didn't like the way it worked, so he reworked it. And because I guess it was reading history. You had to read a lot of account history to try to find a hearing action code. So he reworked that, but you do, when you install this build, you have to run that fix program that will read the history to look for hearing dates and populate them to the DAT prom date field. He used an existing field, I see, DAT promise date field. And that's it. Pretty good for 1 hour.
Yeah, that's good.
I thought it was going to be quicker, but I should always anticipate it's going to go longer than I think. Oh, you know what? I totally left out something. Let me go to letter setup. I left out the delay fields. Files, collection tables, letter table. You view a letter and go to edit. Down here under the tie list options. So I'm under the miscellaneous flag section on the right side in the center. In the prior to 2211, it was just if this is a tie type letter, and this pertains to the trailer list, Whether it's a standard trailer list on a tie type letter or really any letter now, it works. If you put the / at the bottom of the letter, I don't think the form type really applies. I think it works on any form type, right, Doe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So in the prior to this enhancement, it only gave you the option to not show the newest trailer for
30 seconds.
for one day, or it was like 24 hours from the post date or something. So Doe, by another Greg request, added a couple options to delay showing trailers, new trailers on the trailer list for either 30 days or 45 days. It's mainly so that you can continue to send out a tie letter or a letter on a tied account, but not show a new account because it's still in the validation period, the debt validation period, and they don't want any kind of conflict, any kind of complaint or lawsuit because they're including an account on a letter when it hasn't been validated.
Some people hold off tying accounts for 30 days.
Right.
But this way you can actually tie the account and not right away, and then they'll take care. This will take care of that.
And
very nice.
Hey guys, you guys can keep going. I have to drop off. I have to meet someone else.
Okay. Just
Someone more important.
Someone I've scheduled. Good job, Casey. That was very helpful to me. Very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one more field to go on this screen, which is right here. Don't update last letter. And again, for Greg, because some letters, who knows? Maybe it's just a letter where you're trying to get. Maybe it was a client letter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the problem. He was sending letters to clients, and then they would update that a last letter was sent.
Yeah. So it will, if you flag it to don't update last letter, it applies to last letter date and last letter ID. It will not update on the work card.
Cool.
Yeah. So although a lot of these were Greg's requests, I think they're relevant for a lot of our other users.
Wow, Greg should really be happy.
Oh, he should be.
And the one other thing I put on the document was about form type A attachment, email attachment, where you want to send the text of your letter as an attachment as opposed to the body of the email message. And it wasn't working on tie type letters. So now that was fixed to work on tie type letters.
Oh, okay.
Also, it's fixed so that from print done, if you're, and I don't know if it was 2211 or 12, probably both. Print done, if you're doing a type A and you want to include an attachment like a scan doc on the account, it will attach both now. The attachment of the letter text body and the scan doc attachment.
Oh, good.
And that's it.
Casey, this flowed really well, Casey. It speaks to a couple of things you've done. First, you've really been religiously trying to keep the revision history updated. So you were able to just use this as a great cheat sheet to look at what we've done over the past period of time. So it's great that you have that up and current. And second, Teams seems to be handling this really well. You just jumped from screen to screen and it just worked. So if we're going to do this kind of thing in the future, it bodes well.
Since we already covered 12, I just want to mention that a new enhancement got on there in the user-defined window. You can now merge several fields as one big field. So if you want collectors to use that as like a free note field or copy and paste from some web or email, you can do that now. If you define a user-defined window field as an N as in a note, and then you on the length you put in how many fields to utilize, and then that will utilize several fields and turn it into one big field.
Do you
Oh,
have to
wow.
do you have to put all the fields you want to use as type in?
No, just the
Just
one.
the first one?
Yeah, it basically ignores the next several fields that you have the number of length for.
Okay.
So no matter what's in there, it just ignores it.
Also, there are other new enhancements, right? 2212 just since our meeting.
Mass emailing, did we cover that?
Yes,
last
yeah.
week?
Email to clients.
Class?
Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. This action code for language, you made a change that I haven't even looked
Oh,
at.
yes. Yes, you can set up an action code to change the language, and before you'd have to specify which address sequence it was, so you would have to use multiple action codes, but now you can just use one action code and it'll give you a list of names, and you can select which ones you want to affect the language for, and then it'll update it. It also handles tied accounts. It asks you if it's a tied account, do you want to apply it to trailer, and it'll do a name match with it and a sequence number, and then they'll change the language as well on the trailers.
No, okay.
This is the ability to mass email ticket. That's by last assigned, days past frequency.
That looks good.
If anyone talks to Natalie, let her know that we added this because she asked for this about a year, at least a year ago.
Natalie, oh, okay.
At NCS.
Yeah, they just updated to 2211.
Right.
They'll want 12 soon.
All right, I guess that's it then.
Thanks so much, Casey. Really appreciate
Nice.
it.
It was a good presentation, Casey.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Is that Lewis's baby?
No, it's mine.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Casey.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bye.
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 잠깐만. 컴퓨터 좀 느려. 가.